Ready.
Hey, Ryan here.
Hey, Eldgrim.
We're here today with a very special episode. We're going to address
Skallagrim Nilsson.
Skallagrim Nilsson, and we both subscribe to his channel. I watch his videos. I like his fantasy videos; they're interesting.
That's true. Yeah.
That's pretty interesting videos. He did one of us. I mean, pretty much he copied our shield technique. I did appreciate that because we did try to do as close to period as we can, as cheap as we can, by using a 1/4-inch wood, which is basically like planking. If you watch our video, you can figure that out. And we use a linen technique where you do the back and the front in several layers of linen, or cheap fabric that's like linen with either modern glue, or you could make your own cheese glue if you wanted, or use hide glue, I guess, but that's not as good against water. But we do a video that way, and he did a video and used the same technique to cover the front of his shield. And I found that very interesting. It was cool. I haven't seen anybody else do that in any other videos online.
Right, he made an economical version.
How to build a Viking shield on a budget, and ours is how to build the
period Viking shield.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. We appreciate that. What I wanted to say though is what we're doing here today is a reply video to one of his videos he did about shields, and we've done a lot of work on shields.
Yes, we have. Many of our videos involve shields.
Almost everything, even our old arguments with Deadliest Warrior were about shield combat and then not representing it properly.
Right.
But anyway, today we're going to address all the different things he brought up in a video he did called the pros and cons of center grip versus strap-on shields.
That's right, yeah.
When I first heard this title, I was confused because I thought, well, maybe he's going to talk about the history of it, or he's doing something about the SCA, or HEMA, or ARMA, or something like that.
Exactly,
large shields. But I thought it was that, and I get on there and I find out he's talking about all medieval shields from the beginning of history till now. We're talking riot shields even, but I mean, he didn't bring that up. But the point we're getting at is he's talking about all shields. And honestly, in my mind, there's not really a pro and con, and to the degree of the era it was used. Because you have different time periods that different shields were used. Strap-on shields have always been around because we have the Spartan. We have that behind us at the current time. And that's why we're going to image of me dressed like I was kind of in the video we did, Spartan slash
ninja
slash samurai versus slash ninja slash samurai. The reason we did it that way is because Deadliest Warrior had done a bunch of weapons that the samurai and the ninja used. And a ninja or a shinobi could be a samurai. Most of the manuals that were written, that we have historically, were written by samurai. All the legends, a lot of the ninja, and especially the head of the households and stuff, were samurai themselves, or ran sword schools and so on. So basically all the weapons they used were samurai as well as ninja weapons, the kusarigama, all that stuff.
Right, they had crossover.
That's enough of that, but what we want to talk about is, we've got the Spartan, and we'll start off with that, because yes, they used a strap-on shield, but it was large like the Vikings. And it covered everything from the face down to the greaves. And a lot of times these soldiers had to pay for their arms as well and their armor. And depending on how wealthy they were is what they had. Most people believe that they all were from wealthy families and all had it like some kind of distribution of goods. Like the kingdom just gave it to them. It didn't work.
No, it's not like going to the U.S. military and having your rifle assigned to you and things like that. Not at all.
Correct. There's no manufacturer like that. People made their own shields. The shields were passed down from person to person. They were designed not to be destroyed because they were fighting in phalanx with spears. That was a primary method. It was even a ritualistic form of combat where you fight spear and shield with that type of shield. But is it the best shield to use in single combat? Not really. At that time period, people still had center grip shields that were covered with rawhide, and they were made of wood, and they fought with those. Even in the Iliad, that's what they described.
That's
so they described multiple layers of hide because the men were so strong they could carry some of that.
Ajax is an example of that.
And if I'm not mistaken, those were big square-looking shields, a lot of them. Like tower-type shields that were held with a center boss. So, I mean, it had to be very difficult to do, even if they were.
Yeah, they had more of an Etruscan look.
Yes. So what we're trying to say here is this shield, if we want to talk about it right now, covers everything like I said, and I'm wearing a helmet that's not an actual Spartan helmet, but it covers the same thing except for the face is a little more open. That's why we used it. It's the only thing we have. We have better stuff. We'd use it if we had the actual helm. It was used with a spear, and a lot of times it would be flat like this. The reason the shield would be flat, you could hide a spear behind it, but also it would be used in a shield wall or phalanx formation with spears. As you see here, we got an overhand technique. Everything's pretty much covered. Unless you have the spear out thrusting, which you can have quite a bit of spear out, it's covered, and we're covered from the the face down to the knee, and you can see over it. That's designed to set on the shoulder, and it's strapped on. That strap I've got there is normally, this is a shield we made for the video to have a shield to use, was normally made out of metal.
That's right, yeah.
So your arm was banded on this thing.
Yeah. That's right, yeah. That's right, yeah. You would normally have it banded down, and you'd be you're fixed to that shield, and that shield is fixed to you. It's part of your body at that point.
Correct. It was very hard to get rid of. They weren't supposed to drop that shield at all.
Yeah.
If you threw your shield down in battle,
you were considered nothing like
yeah, it'd be like anything. It might be most likely you'd be dead if you got away from your unit because they fought as a unit. That's why they died. Though there's two of them that fought side by side.
Yeah. And, I think we've got some. I think we got some footage of some stuff like that. Why don't we set that up for you, Thrand?
All right, what we got here is a clip where Eldgrim has the Spartan shield on, the Aspis, the Hoplon.
Yeah.
And I'm standing there like if I have a center grip shield or something I could throw down, maybe two weapons or whatever. And what we're going to do here is show the clip. And that's just me playing around like I'm throwing a blow, and I step in, throw my shield down, and get a hold of his shield. He cannot get his arm out. You're watching this, but he's trying to get out right now if you watch the hand. But he can't get loose. And then I just pull him right back in. Now, would this be the greatest technique because now we're grappling? I don't know. But if I had something to attack him with a secondary weapon or something, it would definitely put him on the ground. And this is a case where the straps or the iron or the bronze piece in the middle is not a good thing to have on.
No.
Yeah, if you got into a grappling situation.
Now, I can tell you from how it felt, and you can even see it in the strapping, and we can blow this up for y'all.
You couldn't get it out.
No, yeah, you can see it starting to twist onto my forearm, and it's almost, it's pressing my forearm down.
The way his arm went one way, but if you look at some of our other videos, it can just lock it out in a bar. In that case, we have to be very careful, which he's trying to resist this because I asked him to. Yeah. If it does lock out into a bar, it can break your arm off at the elbow. It will hyperextend the elbow, just like you do in the UFC where they tap out and out into the elbow. Which one to be careful for that not to happen when you don't want anybody hurt.
Right. Fortunately, now roll forward out, out of the bar, but even still, even in this position where you turn me back now, you can see where it's binding my arm to my shield. Now I'm completely.
And if he was thrown over and still had his spear, it's a possibility useless. I could take the spear away from him and use it on it.
Yeah, for me it's useless now. I don't have any way to rear it back when I'm on the ground like this.
Correct. Yeah, or you could have lost it in the fall. Yeah. But we're just showing that. I'm not saying that this would be a viable technique all the time, but it would take place if you got a hold of it and twisted it because of the laws of physics, and you have a very big round lever connected to the elbow, and the hand is secure.
Pure Archimedes.
Correct. Now we're going to talk about the center grip shield. It's something we love.
Yeah, that's our favorite.
We've tested them against cannibals. We've tested them against giant clubs. We've done everything to see if there's some disadvantage to it where it break the man's arm or just kill you outright. And knowing how they're constructed, and they can be constructed cheaply, fast, lightweight. They can be extremely light, like the dueling shield or something where you don't move around much and you need something you can move fast. So in a Holmganga, you want a light shield. That's why they have 3 that break easily. They probably weren't really lined with much. They might have had a layer of linen or two, a light layer of rawhide or something, or rimming. Right. But the idea was in the Holmganga, they were supposed to break. Those shields would probably have been made equal. They were probably shields made specifically for that, like you have dueling pistols. Because if I can make some indestructible shield and just happen to be good enough with it, and it be really heavy, but not die, and not it fall apart, then I don't think you used your actual shields that you'd use every day for home gang. That's just my theory. There's no actual representation of that. But we know we can make a shield because we've done it. The video we were talking about using linen even and glue that will stop arrows, axes, everything. We'll not go through it like you see on Herstwick. I mean, they show where a layer of leather helps hold it together, and it just cuts through the planking and goes. So even with the planking, if you did it this way and encased it, or even a rawhide encased it, as Mike Lodes has showed.
Yeah.
He showed a hit with a English longbow that he shot at it. Yeah. A Francesca, other kinds of stuff, a battle axe.
Yeah.
And it didn't really do much to it.
No, not at all.
The rawhide is the secret. That's why you even hear about like the Zulus. They had a center grip shield.
Yeah.
Was rawhide.
It's common. It's common across so many
eras.
eras. It goes from the Greeks up through the Etruscans, the Romans.
Correct. They even talk about, like you said in the Iliad, how many Ajax had on his shield of rawhide.
Oh God, he had 9 layers, I think.
I know. They're exaggerating. We know this. He probably didn't have 9.
But it was to exaggerate how strong he was to be able to carry that.
I would dare say if that was true, and they were heavy oxen rawhide like the law was at one time, It would be bulletproof if you had that many
Yeah, I
arrows on
think
a
so.
wooden shield.
Well, the Zulu center bosses were almost bulletproof.
Now, in this video here, I'm basically dressed like a 9th century warrior. Remember, Saxons and everybody wore the same type of gear. And what I showed there was, they say there's no strap. What I did earlier just there is I put my hand against that shield with the, I'll talk about that later, with the guard the way it's made. And notice how the blade comes from around the shield and almost everything's covered. I can protect my leg with that, I can protect everything with it, but my hand's covered. When I swing, my hand is underneath the shield. It's a lot less likely for me to get my hand damaged, even without a gauntlet or anything on my arm. I could wear a chain like that, and that would help keep me alive. I might get an arm cut or something if they got around it. But this shield had to stop all those type of cuts. The back edge cuts, like you see in the SCA, that's what we do is 9th century fighting, is what it's supposed to be. And I know that we don't all cut properly. We don't all go out, a lot of us swing our swords where it's basically an impact. But they did pride themselves on the power of the blow at that time period.
Yeah, well,
The swords
you had to
were
break
heavier because of necessity. They were made with pattern welding, and you know, a lot of early period iron swords and stuff were pretty heavy. Now, we had the Ulfberg, that's true. I mean, that was like the magical sword of the era that the Vikings had for some reason.
Yeah.
And it was,
that was
probably
the
lighter
steel.
and the best sword you could ever get.
Mm.
But the Vikings preferred swords if they could get them, and you could see there, you could do the same thing with an axe. You could follow the line of the shield, but it's movable. You keep it in a neutral position, but in a position where it's covering you at all times. If it moves, you can move with it and allow it to move.
Yeah.
Or you can brace it. You can brace it with the guard, either the back of the pommel or the way the cross guard's made, which hasn't got big old quillions because they didn't use the sword to block with at all normally.
Yeah,
the shield had to block. If the shield didn't block, chances are you would damage your sword badly, because if you hit edge against edge, which is the strongest way to block, it's going to damage the sword.
And nobody aimed at helmets, which is why you see that a lot of these shields, like the Spartan shield from earlier and this one, you know, it's covering, you know, so much because nobody aims for the head.
Maybe a thrust to the face trying to hit that eye socket, but you wouldn't purposely try to hit a helmet with a sword because you'd damage your sword as well. A expensive sword, that would be very bad.
Right.
You'd try to hit some area where you could get under the neck. They would try to throw specific blows where they could hit areas. Like they aim for niches, they aim for unarmored parts. And what we see here is I've got a lot of stuff that's unarmored. Yes, I could have chain sleeves if I wanted.
You could.
I'm wearing a coif, which I probably wouldn't even have. I might just have a little chain draped or leather. But that shield pretty much does it all, and it's lighter and faster than the Spartan shield, and it can be damaged quicker and easier.
Right.
Meaning it's not to be indestructible like standing in a phalanx with spears, which cause a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Spears, two-handed spears, or even one-handed spears can cause way more damage than is getting hacked at with swords or hand axes.
Not to say these didn't make great shield walls.
Oh no, they had
lock
spears
up
as well.
really good.
They fought spear and shield. They fought axe and shield and
That's
sword and shield. Axe and shield was probably the most common because it was cheaper. And the spear and shield was even cheaper, so for really person who can't afford anything, a spear and shield would be fair enough in a shield wall.
We were talking earlier about some of Skallagrim's doubts about the pros and cons of the center boss or center grip shield. One of them was the disarming techniques.
Yes, we'll bring that up right now. We got some video stuff that we tested.
Yeah, let's go to those.
One of the advantages of the center grip shield, if you pay attention to it, is it can be dropped or thrown quickly. You could just lose it. Just lose the shield, like if you don't want it. Here's a little surprise here we did, and Eldgrim didn't really know what I was going to do.
Oh!
But as you see, if it was a surprise, if I had told him what I was going to do, he would have been expecting it. He didn't expect it, so I didn't really hurt him that bad. It's a light shield we're using for these demos trying to hurt each other.
Yeah.
I'd use a heavier one if I want to be in a war.
Yeah.
But that's more of a home style shield, but that's what I threw and hit him in the leg with.
Right there.
Yeah. And that's
look at that impact, too.
I could have thrusted with one hand if I wanted a quick attack that would have been really surprising. But, I mean, that's just what we did here. It could have been thrown from farther away. I could have tripped him. There's a saga where a man throws his shield, and the other guy jumps over it, showing his great skill, because he could have easily tripped over it. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's just...
It's just as easy that I could have done that, but we're trying to show the shield as it...
Could have worked, yes.
If it was
if you threw it, the guy could trip on it, and that'd be it, fall, and you could finish him right there.
Yeah.
Because he wouldn't expect you to do it because it's something that's not known to be done. People like shields. A shield was the warrior at that time period. Without it, you were pretty defenseless when it came to your armor. But see, me having a spear and him having an axe, and say he would have a shield too. But if I threw that and it happened to hit his leg and surprise him like that, I have the reach, so I might do that.
Yeah,
I might very well do that. That's why.
But it's an opportunity deal. Yeah, it's definitely.
It's an opportunity and surprise thing. Just like you could punch to the face, so we know you can punch with edge. Skallagrim brings this up. It's true. You can punch to the face.
We've done that a couple of times.
And that's how you mostly use it. Use it to punch with, then the edging to so on.
Yeah. Man, I tell you what, that looks like it hurts.
Yeah, it did. I'm sorry about it. I know it's a light shield and I didn't throw it hard, but it was just to show that there's an advantage to being able to get
I was
rid
talking
of
about this impact here. That's just something. You
I
can
know,
see
I
it.
know.
That's cool. We got some other disarms that we can look at, though. I mean, we got a lot of cool stuff.
Because when somebody like the samurai had grabbed the round shield trying to manipulate it by grabbing it.
Yeah.
Well, it's just held in your hand. So he's going to grab it right here, and I'll show the first instinct you would have if you used to follow that line, that circular line to cut with, is bow.
Right there.
Yeah, as soon as it was grabbed, your first instinct would be to hit it with a round shield, and you have the ability to do that. It's not strapped on the arm, it's not real sharp, you don't have to choke up on the grip. Your blade's already there.
Man, that and
he would have no fingers if he did that unless he was wearing a really heavy gauntlet and be late century. That's the only way he did it. He still would probably want that impact from that axe.
Fuck no, man. Never.
Let's continue.
All right.
And that is a real edge. We're being very careful here. We try to be. We don't have practice weapons.
Here we go.
Steel.
This is a backspin right
there. He
there.
didn't get cut. Don't fear.
No, I didn't get cut.
But that was him trying to
Well,
try
I felt that edge bite me a little bit. You know what I mean?
But the point is, even if you'd grab with two hands, there wouldn't have been much point to it because one hand would have been destroyed.
There it is.
If he lost a hand, I doubt he would have kept fighting, losing fingers. It's possible he was a berserker. There's been known to berserk. That's why he doesn't mind taking pain in videos.
All right, here we go, rolling around.
You're trying to pull it open,
Oh, yeah,
grabbing.
you're a dead man. Let's see that again. I like that. I mean, look at that. Open it up.
Yeah, that's the first instinct is to cut with that, so there's no advantage to grabbing that.
Not at all. You're disadvantaging yourself by doing it.
I let him pull it open further than he should before I cut because I didn't want to risk hurting him.
True, yeah. Otherwise,
I would cut
could've
instantly
lost.
as he pulled it. Oh, it's instinct. Oh, it's cut. The cut's there. You cut and move the shield at the same time.
As soon as it happens, you should be following that line.
It should be instant.
Yeah, I think we got some more good footage on this.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah, here we go. This is great. I love this. This is one of my favorites.
This is another one. We've done this before with the Believe It or Not, the sport video.
Here we go.
I handed a spear off to my friend Marquez when he was playing the samurai part, even though he's normally used to using with a hand-and-a-half sword, not a katana. He's using an odachi.
Well, let's see what happens here. I'll try to grab your shield.
He tries to grab it and pull it.
Yeah, so I'm going to pull. Oh, let me have it.
Yep, since I was fighting with an axe, if I was fighting with a spear, or even a sword, I could two-hand it if I wanted to get a little extra power. They did that with swords as well, or grab your wrist. And I could have just thrown a mighty blow and let him have it, because why would I resist?
Yeah, I mean...
If it's single combat, and you're not in a shield wall or something, then why would you care?
Here we go. Again. Bang.
He didn't have any idea what I was going to do, really.
No, I didn't. I mean...
That's why if you look, he looked like he was in shock.
I was surprised, yeah.
I saw him go ahead and pull it, like you're trying to pull it away from me or pull it
like play a tug-of-war with your dog, and, you
But even if he was trying to attack, when he pulled that shield, if he grabbed it with a hand or even hooked it with something, and pulled, if I let go of it, he'd move back. He wouldn't realize that he was forced to pull, and he didn't really need to.
Yeah.
We have some more stuff about actually using the shield, and I was talking about bracing the shield if it's necessary.
Yeah.
Alrighty, now we're going to show what would happen if you try to push the shield, and this is also directed at the Art of Mars. I forget his name, but he was talking about how the shield could easily be manipulated around. It was very heavy, and you couldn't keep up with the sword with it. But what we're going to show here is he's got a strap-on shield, which gives him a lot more leverage than I do, and it's a heater, and we'll show some tests on that in a minute too, and how it was used and why it became a primary shield. Go ahead and let's roll this. He's going to press my shield, and if you see how the cross guard's made, and the mine's not exact, but it was all the same length. The pommel of the cross guard, or the quillions. It wasn't big and wide like used later century with long swords for fencing, pretty much with blades, because they didn't use their blade defense with. They didn't block with it. But he hits here, and I just brace it, and that's it. He's pushing as hard as he can.
Oh, yeah, man. I'm putting everything I got into it. Look, there's a good image of the pommel.
So you basically do have a handle that you can use at any given time to hold that shield flat or press back with or whatever. Now, I do admit it holds your blade, but I also have something in the way. I have a blade up there that, yes, if he hits the side of it, it's not going to hurt my blade.
There you go. See? Right there. Yeah, there's not shit you can do.
Yeah, not bad at all.
Look, there it is again. Yeah. I was even trying to top it a little there. It's a handle you can pick up and put anywhere on your shield.
Correct.
That's really neat.
Yeah. Oh, we did tip the axe into the sword by accident, which that kind of thing could happen. but it didn't damage my sword at all. It nicked the axe, but it's nothing unrepairable.
Huh.
I was kind of like, oh crap. Oh,
Well, yeah. But hey, you know, it's
what it
great
goes to show you, the quality of an axe is usually not always the same as a sword. Depends. Right. Modern axe, yes, but ancient axe, no.
All right, here we go. Here's a little hooking here. Let's see.
He's got a hook.
Hook. There's that handle again.
Yeah, and I'm keeping it from opening up and
yeah, and I'm pulling with all my might.
Yeah, I'm keeping it from opening up by doing that, by using it as a handle. And that's why I believe they were flat like that. That's why you have the pommel and the quillions of the same size. So you could do that, not hurt your knuckles, and you could, you know, because your hand a lot of times didn't even have anything but a glove on it, maybe, or nothing, just there. Yeah. And you kept it behind the shield to keep it from getting injured. Yeah.
Oh, look, and then that little press.
And I actually thrusted it, but you couldn't see it on camera. That would have been an overhead thrust. Mm. And my hand was still way behind that, where it wouldn't have gotten injured in any kind of way.
Yeah. See. Oh, yeah, there you go. No matter what
and
I do.
And I opened and attacked. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. You can let go and open it anytime you want. You can close it up anytime you want. There's another press we were talking about.
Right. We do several things here.
Let's see that again.
Right. But that shows how he was saying that if you turn the shield, that you're instantly open, and the guy, you could hit you. So if you press the shield, I'm instantly open, and that's it. But honestly, I had an attack there. His axe was in the way, but I'm just saying I could have gotten a blow in that way easily, or cut him.
Not a bad
possibly in the throat, depending on the situation.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And back then, with nothing on the throat, that would have been a kill. The end of it.
Yeah, no gorget, no nothing. Yeah, that's it. Well, we're going to set up again here. And here's that.
That's me just cutting.
Yeah, that's just a cut.
That's me following the cut and just letting that happen.
Yeah.
And I was covered the entire time. And he's actually pressed by it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that shield can press. It can do anything that... Okay, now, here's an interesting one here.
And notice we hold it a lot like the heater. It's still held like the heater.
Yeah.
That's just showing how it works.
Yeah.
Now, I would cut much faster and exactly. Right when he pressed it, I would do it at the exact same time. I wouldn't hesitate.
Right. We're taking it step by step and slowly so that there's no injuries.
Unless I absolutely had to use my blade or axe to parry with, which is possible. Or a spear or whatever I had. You could do it. I mean, it's not that they didn't ever do it. They tried not to do it. We do find sword damage on some swords from this time period.
Yeah.
Yeah, regardless of what they say, we find sword damage that was repaired and ground down, just like axes. It happens, from hitting armor as well. They don't mean to do it, though. A good swordsman tries never to do that.
Oh, here's a nice little top press here. Let's see. Yep, here we go. Bottom press.
Yeah, what I did there is I let him roll under without him cutting my leg.
Let's look at it again.
I let him roll under. Like when he hit, I stopped.
There's the top. Oh.
And I just followed the line of the shield to cut him.
Yeah, let's see it. Top again. Right, there's the top.
I got, some of the recreators that read the treaties and stuff have shown this online. The Hamburg group, if you look them up, has done this, and I think people link videos to Skallagrim about it as well. And I do like what they do. The only thing is, I think in armored combat, that some of those cuts sometimes would not be appropriate to hit certain niches and areas that need to be hit, or how hard the blow would have to be from an axe or something. Sometimes you would have to take a chance and throw some kind of blow where you could get your arm cut or your hand cut, because in the sagas we see this is taking place too. People have lost hands, arms, maybe they were just stupid and didn't know what they were doing, didn't know the style properly. But, I mean, yes, the shield was supposed to protect your hand as well as your entire body if you were good at it. And at Holmganga, you couldn't back up, so that's what we were saying, is that you needed a lighter shield to not have to back up. And with this shield also, when it does pivot or move, you can always advance forward. A lot of times to press that way is much better than backing up. When one of the, I forget which king said it, but one of them said that for a man to back up more than 3 paces, he's a coward or anything. No. He said that for his men, but he didn't mean it like people think. He meant it, that was part of Holmganga, but he also meant that you probably didn't need to do that. Yeah, you knew what you were doing with a sword and shield or axe and shield, what have you, you more than likely did not need to back up. Because the shield, you would let it give and go with it and use it as a blow, a counter instantly. Yeah,
as we're going to see here in a second with the bottom, I'm going to hit the bottom of the shield and tip it from the bottom.
Yeah.
And here we go. Use it as a press.
And notice I'm using a real edge. I could have got that in quicker on him, the blade, but I don't want to because we don't want to hurt somebody really bad. This is sharp. That's all we got. If we had steel reenactment swords right now that didn't have edges of their steel, we'd be using those. Another thing he talked about is the wrist being broken. We already showed you there's lots of ways to stop that, like just attack the hand or attack him, or if he pulls on the shield or tries to twist the shield. He's going to grab it here with 2 hands. Now, he'd have to throw a weapon down to do that. But as you notice, I could have just barely touched it with my sword and done the same thing I just did. I didn't have to grab the shield at all. I barely touched it with my fingers. I don't know if it shows up that way to y'all, but if you pay attention, I barely touched it. I didn't really have to. So you could technically, you're good enough, just barely tip it with your sword, and he could roll it completely around, and you could back up and have it in your hand. It's that easy to flip around. I flip it around my hand all the time from a habit, just like a trick, like spin the shield.
Yeah.
Yeah, just for fun while I'm walking around with it. So you could also spin the shield in battle like that. Let's say the top got really badly damaged and you're trying to protect a lot of head blows from something like an axe or something. You could flip the shield upside down if you need it.
Yeah.
There's no straps on it.
That's right.
So I mean,
yeah,
that's another advantage to it, is that you could use any part of the shield you want. Plus, you can rotate it different ways to get them to hit different parts of the shield that aren't damaged yet.
So it's incredibly fluid.
Yeah, and normally the stance is pretty much like fist fighting, just like it is with a heater. You're standing there with it at a slight angle where you can barely see from around it, where you can attack easily, and it's kind of like putting your dukes up. We're showing that right there. That's what I wanted to say about it. Is not saying this would be the main technique to use every time, but if you wanted to, you could do it. You could end up with the shield again anyway.
Yeah, it's true.
And probably attack him in the process by tipping it with your sword and cutting at the same time.
Yeah.
To hold it in your hand. But anyway, it was just interesting. We just thought it was funny to throw that in.
Yeah.
But no, the wrist is not in any danger at any time.
Not at
from
all.
a cannibal.
Not from a twist. Nothing.
Yeah. The only thing that if your boss was wimpy, something might pierce it, but due to the dishing of it, I doubt even an arrow will go through. It's like hitting a helmet. You can't shoot through a helmet with an arrow.
It'll skip.
If it doesn't go in the eye slot or something, it's going to skip off the helmet.
Yeah.
All the testing proves that.
Yeah, we got some tests that prove that.
Yeah. Okay. Now, what happened around William the Conqueror's time is they developed a new style of riding. The legs were no longer up in stirrups.
Right.
They were straight down. This allowed them to ride differently and allowed them to use their spears much like lances. That's when the beginning of lancing started, before the clutch lance and all that. And really stand up and throw. And they could also ride by and have more stability and power using axes and so on to hurt the armor of the time, because they started wearing full chain. I mean, there's people who, it started up around that time. You had a lot of chain armor, a lot of helmets or helmer, chain coifs. These are the Norman.
Yeah.
They conquered England. This was after the Great Heathen Army and everything later on. The Normans came in, and William the Conqueror took over England.
That's right.
But yes, they did have a technique where they'd ride up, but they had these long shields, and some were depicted with center bosses, but normally, since they were riding shields, the shield was very narrow and it was streamlined of the body and came to a point at the bottom. So we call this a kite shield. It looks a lot like a kite. And it was very heavy. It was heavier, so it was thinner. I mean, they couldn't make it as broad or as big a coverage, and didn't need it. The armor of the time, let's say you throw the shots like you do in the SCA, or use the back edge or whatever to draw cuts, pretty much everything was covered.
Yeah.
You're not going to kill this guy easily.
No.
I mean, that long shield would help protect the leg and the leg on the horseman as he rode by or rode off. It could drape over his back to protect him with arrow shots or throwing weapons or anything after he rides up and throws a javelin and rides away. But as it kept going, you get better and better armor. This would be around 13th, 14th century. I think that's a 15th century helm. But what we're trying to say here is they had full helms. They had visored helms with little openings. Like we have here. We have a heater shield, which is a smaller version later century, and the shield got really heavy. That's one of the reasons they strapped it on. It had to stop the clutch lance. The clutch lance is for lancing on horseback. And if you're on horseback, and somebody, if it couldn't stop that lance and keep you alive, even if it knocked you off, it wasn't a good shield. And they had plate armor. There'd be plate arms. You can't see here, but he'd have plate arms, plate elbows. I don't think he'd have cannons yet at the around time period we're trying to depict here. He might have a light chain shirt. He's got a coat of plates on underneath it, or over the chain, which is a reinforcement to stop crossbows, to stop pole arms that they had, bigger pole arms there, stop war hammers, stop axes. They started using primarily shorter axes with even full metal handles later on. So you start running into plate. It becomes a lot more difficult to damage. That's why when they use swords, they start half swording so you can punch through the eye slot. So you can punch in niches with the point. They stopped using the swords the same way. They come way more tapered.
Well, yeah, if you see what's exposed on this.
You can't just cut through plate. We've done plenty of tests to prove that. You cannot cut through plate armor. It's not possible. But that shield, it had to protect you against these massive blows that were incoming. It had to stop those crossbows at close range. They don't shoot those from long range because of the arc and so on. We gave them an axe here. I know it's a Viking axe, but the reason we tried to give them an axe was to show you that they would have used an axe or a war hammer with a spike on it, or a cudgel, a mace, a flanged mace, whatever you want to call it.
Mm.
And that's what you need to hurt this kind of armor. It even had probably some kind of pauldrons or some kind of armor on his shoulders. He'd have some chain. It was the plate mill era.
Oh yeah, I mean they would have had a chain
Right, we can go ahead and
leggings.
look at it a little bit longer here. We'll talk about it. He's holding it properly, and if you look, his thighs are slightly open. They wouldn't be. He could be wearing a chain hose. And yes, guys, it wasn't chain pants. It was hose held up by suspenders. You do the research. They didn't have chain pants like they draw in the fantasy drawings. That would be ridiculous. It's heavy. It's just some hose to cover your legs where the plate knees didn't cover you, or the greaves. And we've got greaves on him because it was possible to have greaves.
Yeah.
They didn't have lots of plate pieces, but they had some. It hadn't turned into a full suit yet that was articulated.
That's right.
We're going to show here how that shield can protect you against these major blows. Now, in SCA style fighting, you would, you could throw all these wraps and stuff, get in really close. People don't use shields this small. The reason they don't use them is because they don't need that heavy a shield. This thing would be covered in layers of linen. We're talking layers of linen and rawhide over plywood.
Yep.
Sometimes it was used in ply planks several different directions. It could be up to an inch or more thick. It didn't matter. It wasn't a very big shield.
No.
So him speaking also being strapped to the arm just like a Spartan shield, it's very difficult to go through that shield and into that arm. Now, if you do that with a center boss shield, as much area as it covers, it's a much larger area shield, meaning if you have the shield that reinforced, which what they normally a lot of times do is make it thicker near the center boss, and since they were making it by hand, they would taper the planks towards the edging.
Yeah.
And that was also to help curve it if they were trying to do a elliptical shield.
No.
But the idea behind this is this shield was more of the actual tilting shields ended up becoming almost all metal. I mean, they were wood covered with metal. It was go back to the Spartan era, but it was steel.
Even
and they were made to
to a
glance
leg.
stuff off. And we're going to talk about that too here in a second. But yeah, he could stop a leg shot even from a polearm. See how he just held it out? You could do that with a round shield. I can just punch it out. And even with a polearm, with the reach it has, or long sword or something, or long sword or great sword, I could stop that shot. But he wouldn't even really need to if he was wearing the proper armor.
Oh no, not at all. That would.
He might do it anyway and attack me at the exact same time.
It's true.
But in the SCA, these shields are much taller normally, or square. We're not putting the SCA down. It's a sport fighting event type thing. And if you're going to use a strap-on shield like that, which a lot of people like to use in a real static fighting style, or it's almost an earth style, they can defend themselves really well with those. It's almost impossible to hit them. They're really good at it. And if they do hit them, glancing blows don't count. And a lot of those guys like to wear a lot of plate, really nice armor, and it works well for them.
Yep. Oh, here we go with those glances you were talking about.
Yeah, we'll show that.
Sure. Let's take it back a little.
I was just trying to show that the helm's so well covered in the face with the proper chin strap, proper strapping, and arming cap, and possibly even chain under it, a chain coil.
There's a good skip right there.
All right, as we were talking about the heater and how many layers they did on this thing, they did lots of layers of parchment, sometimes thin sheets of metal. They used linen, as we did in our video, rawhide. It was done like plywood with slats going different ways. That's what we used in the video, is plywood, of course. But the thing is, this is a heavy shield. It didn't matter. If you make a very large shield, like we said, out of something really heavy, like 1-inch plywood, you're not going to be able to carry the thing around center boss. It's ridiculous. You're not going to be able to move it fast. But something like this, in this time period when you have all the plate, and plate mill era, and later when they go into plate, they eventually don't even need shields anymore, really. They get plates so well, we don't even need shields anymore. But when they were using heaters, this is the kind of thing that was designed to stop. Let's say axes. We've got an axe here. I know it's a Viking axe, but it's still an axe. Doing a nice two-handed blow to see if he can chop through it into his arm. He doesn't even have a van brace on. He would have a van brace on.
Behind that shield, plus the padding.
Right. Now, he was holding a German flail, horseman's flail, but that's the kind of thing it was designed to stop. It was to help stop stuff like that could crush your armor, or damage your armor, or damage you through your chain and padding. And that was the idea to having a heavier shield, was to stop these tremendous, powerful blows. They didn't have to worry about, like I said, draw cuts so much. The back edge cuts, stuff like that.
All that. Yeah, you got chain skirting down the back of the
legs. And if he failed to block, I mean, if it didn't knock him silly, I mean, chances are it's not going to kill him hitting him in the helm anyway. From my one-handed weapon, he's pretty safe. It would stop war hammers.
You can see where the helms got damaged from earlier blows, and you can tell that the indentation, even on 18 gauge, is not enough to even make impact with the person's
Yeah,
skull.
that's
So
like
the
the
armor really is your primary defense. The shield is really ancillary to that. It's
right.
an
We just kind of
auxiliary.
threw something together here. It's not exactly what you'd be wearing for a
A
proper
whiz
time
bead coat
period.
of plates and
14th
yeah,
century. The helm's almost 15th
century.
But I mean, they had helms with
visors and
visors
face
and
guards.
covers,
Yeah.
face bassinets, so on.
Yeah,
They had
so
all this stuff.
we were kind of bridging two eras.
to try to show the armor.
Yeah,
That
and,
shield would be used with a lot of armor.
and this was
And
all about
used to
progression.
stop heavy weapons like
Yeah.
the heavy crossbow, lances, clutch lances. That's when you start getting into smaller heaters and so on.
Right, and that's because of the development of technology over time and the change of warfare, and you had to change your gear to match.
Right, and the arms changed. Swords were
But did we
primary
not
weapons
still
anymore.
have
Axes
center
were more
bosses?
important.
Right.
Warhammers with military spikes on the back.
Stuff like that,
Yeah.
that German flail, that's something that would be important. But also, when you think about it, center bosses were still used in the era when this shield was common.
Yeah, they still had center boss shields. Some people did carry them, and all the way up to the buckler.
Mm-hmm.
The
That's
buckler
right.
is a center grip shield, but that was the swashbuckler where they carry the buckler with their sword. You
Yeah.
could hear it rattle as they
Sure.
walk. That's
And
what
you
it
know,
is.
I've fought punch buckler style in the SCA before. It's not easy to do.
No, but if you
It's-
both are on even ground,
Oh, yeah.
it's really easy to block a headshot.
It
with
sure is.
And
Yeah.
it's used totally different. It's used to kind of cover.
Oh, it's a
the
very
head, yeah.
fast style. You're very fluid. You move very quickly, and you just.
Right,
I mean,
right. It's a totally different thing.
it's easy to
So
die, but it's also easy to kill
It's
your
a lot
opponent.
like
It's
single
fun.
sword with a bonus.
Yeah, yeah. It's a lot of fun.
And if you were doing non-SCA style, you could actually punch people. With
Oh
that
yeah,
weapon.
yeah. SCA doesn't allow that, but
Right,
yeah.
we're not allowed to do
Yeah,
that.
if you
but,
could,
yeah.
if you could pop
They're still
somebody.
fun.
Yeah,
They're still
yeah.
fun. Yeah.
And well, even this shield has its fun, but I think it's fun on horseback because of its shape. You know,
Right.
we see that.
Well, like we
that
talked
shaping.
about the Bayou shield or the kite shield, and that was to cover that leg when they changed the riding style.
Yeah.
They could stand in the stirrups. They no longer were seated like a conventional riding style with your legs bent. They were
Yeah.
straight up and down.
I think
That helped with the clutch lance when you lean forward to actually
Right.
give power.
Yeah, I
Because
think
you're,
we see a lot of
tilting and
romantic
jousting.
novels and things make the strap-on shield like the shield of single combat. And I think that mistake's even made when people read the Iliad and misread the Iliad, where they say he took his boss' shield. And these are in single combat. This is not Phalanx
They were
fighters.
center boss.
Ajax,
Everything.
Odysseus, all these guys, Patroclus,
Center
all of them,
boss.
they were all using center bosses. But they were officers and they fought in a very different way. These are used for different circumstances. The Spartan shield
Right.
we looked at earlier, that's a different
The
circumstance. This
shield
is a
was
different,
still required when the heater came about. The
Yes,
shield
it
was
was.
still necessary to help
but to a
aid
different
you.
but to a different
Right,
purpose.
to aid you from the proper types of close-up shots
Yeah.
from the heavy crossbows, like I said, clutch lances. Some of the weapons they were using, they were short-handled weapons like
Yeah.
warhammers with spikes.
Well, don't we have some examples
yeah.
of how this shield has
flanged
its...
maces.
Mhm.
The flanged maces.
Yeah,
I think
but
we brought that up before.
I think we
Yeah,
got some video of some problems with that shield and what its
Oh
cons
yeah, we were
are.
talking. He was talking about the strap-on shield. We showed that on the Spartan shield, the aspects of the hoplon.
The armbar.
Yeah, the Greek hoplon. But yes, this shield has the same problem. It's just very difficult in that kind of fight to do something like this. But if you could get in, yes.
Yeah.
All right, here we're going to show a center grip shield against the strap-on heater. We didn't have armor on because, of course, it was really hot and it was about 112 heat index.
Yeah, that's the combination.
It was
of
about 100 degrees.
Yeah, it was over 100 degrees. It was.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it was really hot. It was like
If
being in
y'all
an
had,
oven.
I don't know what that is in.
In Celsius? Oh, geez, I have no idea.
My wife would know.
Yeah, she would know. I wouldn't know. But yeah, it was hot enough that it was like being in an oven. And
So we
we're-
took armor off to do some of these scenes. And
Yeah.
It was easier with the throwing and stuff not to have all the armor on.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
Especially.
the sand we have in my backyard is a little bit of sand.
Yeah, no, not in armor.
Anyway, let's go and watch the clip.
Oh yeah, this one's interesting. I think y'all are gonna really enjoy this. It's similar to what happened
I press
earlier.
against his shield and notice he's got way more control because he doesn't have to put his sword
Yeah, all right,
against
you
it
got
and
me.
stop it.
That's how you throw him, bro. Bam.
And that's just to simulate I throw a shot or something to bind him up for a second and then grab his shield. Now if you look, his arm's trapped. And I told him to resist so we don't get a arm bar.
Yeah, we do. We get the arm bar.
And that could have broke his arm if I forced it, so I'm going slow. But that's just to show you, I'm just being funny there. I could have pulled a dagger out or something and finished it. Especially at that time period, they did. They carried a rondelle or a dagger on
Yeah.
the side, and that'd be for eye slots or
Well, I mean,
for niches.
You
But
know, a
could
man
pull that
can roll out of that. But what I think you can really see is the control you can continue to have over me
Oh, yeah.
with that shield bound to my arm.
And we also showed an advantage of the center grip shield. I threw it down to do that.
Yeah. We also see the advantage of the Berserker Rage.
That's going to be people will make fun of me with there for a while.
Yeah, man.
The way it's still, no, I like it. I don't mind. It was just me being silly there.
Well, no, it's the thing is
because I didn't have a weapon left, so it's like.
A man can do a shoulder roll out of that arm bar in normal circumstances.
But you can still get pulled
But with
back.
the shield,
you couldn't let go of it.
I can't let go.
As long as I keep it bound, right?
As long as you keep me bound, and what's binding me is not that I can't let go and slip my arm out, so much as that strap is down over my arm, and as you twist that shield
and if those straps
to
are
achieve the
tight,
arm bar,
even if it's just from your wrist to your forearm, and it's not even on your hand, a buckler even, where it's buckled on.
Yeah.
Is one of the names for that. It's not going to be on there tight. If it's not, you're not going to be able to use that shield.
Yeah, you got it on
can't
a
be
good
flopping
tight.
around and rolling around your arm and loose where you can just sling it off.
Yeah, no.
Now there are some SCA versions of a shield where they'll put a metal bracket that just slips down over the top of the arm and have a handle, so you can let go of the handle and just toss it off.
Yeah. Oh, you're. Yeah, it doesn't make the complete.
They're not on very sturdy though. The main handle on there is like a solid handle, not a strap.
Yeah.
In our early period, most of them we see straps, not handles. That's
right.
something the SCA uses a lot of. The handle is actually made onto the shield. A lot of them early on aren't handles, they're straps. We see a lot of strapping.
Which is why we strap.
That's what we did. If we found handles like that, we'd say we found handles like that.
Which we haven't. We found strapping, yeah.
Padding, and all the laminations. Shields are laminated. They've always been made that way.
Yeah, this one that we have.
Or they're planks. They're always covered with other materials, which in theory make them like plywood or or some type of a composite material.
Right.
Almost like modern ballistic helms.
Yeah, they were tough.
Right.
In all eras, even the center boss, even though it was meant to do a different job as far as covering more of you, that thing was still really
I think we covered
sturdy.
some of the stuff Skallagrim said, like he was saying he thought the strapping might break. I beg to differ. If that strapping breaks, your shield's useless. It's going to get knocked off you anyway with any blow. A major blow from a pole arm or something when they were using heavier shields to stop that sort of thing.
Well, we showed our strapping held up really well.
So if it stays on, unless you can get your hand out and your arm out in time, which you'd have to be loose to begin with.
True.
If somebody got a hold of it, they've got a lever. That is a lever. That's the whole time to.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Now, the trick is, could I get that without him hitting me with that axe? Because if I threw my shield out and grabbed his shield, would it be worth doing it? That's the question.
Right. And,
I mean, I'm not saying this is the main combat technique to go out and use it. I'm just saying you could do it technically if the guy got caught by surprise. If he knew what you were doing, he could possibly pull, resist or something, and a little bit more, jerk back and hit you with the axe, and that'd pretty much be it. You would be defenseless. So that's the only problem. But if you pulled it off, then that would be the result. No. Your arm would be trapped. You'd be on the ground.
Right.
That's pretty much it.
Well, I think we've pretty much answered all of Skallagrim's questions on the theories. His theory, his
the wrist breaking on the center grip. No.
No, we don't see that happening.
We didn't see that happening. The shield getting knocked around a lot.
Being manipulated easily.
You don't have to allow it to be, or you can allow it to be if you want it to be.
In both circumstances, whether you're trying to manipulate it by hand.
You can still, even a guy who's good at it, if you surprise him and you manipulate it quick enough, you can still get an attack in.
True.
You both have to be on guard. Hence, that's why it's fighting, I guess.
I guess so, yeah. I mean, there's no other explanation, but we don't see it being easily manipulated on that center boss shield.
No, it depends on the person. If you try to stand there and use it like a static strap-on shield, then yes, it's going to easily be manipulated.
And you're not going to work with it.
If you stand in a stance and you're not mobile, and you just stand there, you're going
to die with it.
You're going to die with it. Now, you could do that with a heater. You can stand there and defend everything and trade blows. Just by using the heater to move it up and down. That's pretty much it. But your armor would be taking anything you missed. Anything you might have missed or a little blow that gets through, whatever, your armor could survive. And what we're saying here is, in the periods when they used the center boss shield,
especially
armor
at
had not advanced to that point, or they didn't have that much coverage.
Right, so
a lot of it was Limilax, like I said. It was hardened leather. You had lots of cloth armor, like I was saying. It does turn edges.
Yes, it does.
And chain. You had chain armor and scale.
Yep.
So a lot of that stuff is good, but they usually didn't cover the entire body from head to toe. This wasn't like a plate arrow where you could articulate plate and forge it in such a way that it would stop long bows, crossbow bolts.
And
they had plate that would stop early firearms.
That's right.
Cannons are what made plate go out.
That's right.
It was the cannons. Grape shot and cannons got rid of plate. It wasn't firearms.
And then we saw the shield go away and the progression of warfare change.
Well, just the armor got so good the shield went away. Eventually, the shield was just more of a trophy thing. It was
true, and that's
it was a thing to hold with your device on it.
Right,
for
heraldry
and chivalric recognition.
Right.
That's what it was for.
They even decorated those with bosses, even though they weren't bossed and they were strapped on.
Oh, they did all kinds of stuff later. They had some really Romanesque looking shields, round shields, domed shields, painted like stuff out of a cathedral.
Yeah.
I mean, like
It's
that type of
interesting.
artwork during the Renaissance era, and the shield wasn't necessary.
You
Your
didn't
plate
need it.
did everything for you.
But it did go out of warfare as warfare technology
But
progressed.
it came back. We use them now for riot shields.
That's right, they are
If you
riot
don't want to
shields.
harm people, and you just want to push them back, and you want to pretty much have something that's slightly
You can
ballistic
create
resistant
perimeters
and
through
stop
shield
brick
walls.
bats and stuff being
Yeah.
thrown at you. Those new polycarbonate ones you can see
Shield
through
wall,
are
yeah.
used. Even
Yeah.
ones that aren't polycarbonate, which is a little.
And you know what's interesting? They use the same shield wall techniques that you see the Roman army use in their formations. They make
The
those
big square
almost-
shields.
Yeah,
Yes, they do.
They have people, you know, they got them lined up, and you got a big tortoise.
Right.
Yeah, crazy. I love it. I think we've covered just about everything Skallagrim covered. I mean, the Spartan was not an advantage to have that shield over a center boss, and the fact that we look at the Iliad and Homer's ideas, we see that the center boss was still used then by certain people. That we romanticize the strap-on shield, and we should be romanticizing
The
the
center
center
grip
boss.
was used longer actually than the.
And it had more honor because it was your one.
The advantage to having a strap on, you could have a much heavier shield, and not worry about it wearing your arm out. That's
Well,
and
it helps if
thicker,
you're on, yeah.
because you're going to strap it on. You have to have padding behind it, and it has to be way thicker
But you work in a unit
and
usually.
a better composite.
Yeah.
That would be the way to put it. It could be denser. It's
True.
going to be a better composite, something that could stop the weapons of your time.
That's
if
right.
it doesn't, they're just going to put holes through your arm and
You're done.
Yeah.
Right, and back then.
That is true, but the thing is, if you have a plate arm on that could stop a sword possibly anyway, and then you
What
have
was the point of having?
a small heavy shield,
Yeah. What's the point?
but
you might as well
with a
just.
small heavy shield, I mean, the advantages are stop lances and crossbows. That was
That was
basically
it. Yeah.
Or tremendous blows from pole arms,
There you go. That's a good
like
one. too.
halberds and
Yeah. Again.
and Lucerne hammers and stuff like that.
So pros and cons. I don't know. I think I see the center boss is still my favorite of all.
But the secret I see is also what area you're in, what armor you had, what you were wearing, to which would be better.
Right.
If I'm lightly armored, I want more coverage for my
Oh,
shield,
well.
and I want a better shield, a lighter shield.
Maybe I'm just biased. I like the center boss.
I
It's
like
a
the
great
center grip
shield.
too, yes.
Yeah,
I
the
do.
center
Of
grip
course,
shield is
we're
great.
Viking fanatics. So. But like I said, Skallagrim is a good channel to be subscribed to. I've been subscribed to for a while.
Yeah.
Lindy Bage. Lindy Bage has a lot of videos he's had out forever that are real similar to Skallagrim's, and
Yeah,
they have about the
check
same
those
opinion.
out.
You'd
Yeah.
be in
Yeah,
shock.
check them out. Yeah.
Very similar type videos.
Yeah. I'd go check out Lindy Beige too. Yeah.
A lot of our stuff, we test everything and do it. That's our difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Sometimes
cover the same subjects, but we test it, sometimes not in the same context, but we actually cover a lot of this stuff.
Right. Yeah. And
We've covered it in our old videos.
true. All the way back to the Deadliest
Protherium
Warrior.
is
Day.
good with weapon testing.
Yeah, Protherium, great guy. I
Protherium,
just
yes.
saw some of his new ones that
Yeah,
came
he
out.
tests chain. He's done a lot of chain tests proving you can't go through real riveted chain with a conventional sword thrust.
There you
Or, tack. He's tested stuff to see if you can chop through, what the sword would do if it's dull through bone and flesh. And with if you're squeamish about that, don't watch it if you're real squeamish. But yeah, he does stuff with like hog legs, pig legs, hog carcasses. He's been doing some really good stuff. I looked it up the other day. He comments on our videos a lot. He's a
So
friend of ours.
Lindy Beige, Protherium, Skallagrim Nilsson. Check them out.
I hope
They're
Skallagrim didn't take this in the wrong way. We're just doing this to test it out because we listen to a video. I watch a lot of his videos, so I wanted to reply on it. Just give our information, and he can come back and give us
Little
a
academic
reply later if
input.
he likes. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody.
All right.
And we're out.
I think we did good. Let me go check on the kiddos. I think we got it all.